At ease. Welcome to another episode of the At Ease podcast. Today's special guest is retired Command Master Chief Ervin Byrd. He hails from Port St. Joe, Florida. He joined the Navy in 1989 as an airframer structural mechanic. Back then, the airframer rate had 3 letters for their rate. Now they just changed it to this 2 letters unless you're AME. But he's joined as the airframer structural mechanic. His sea tours include VF-43, the USS Guam, VP-4 is where he made chief, USS Nassau, VP-16 is where he was a senior chief and made master chief, and VP-45 where he was a CMC, and the USS Iwo Jima. He was a CMC aboard the USS Iwo Jima down in Mayport, Florida. His shore tours, he was a Navy recruiter, did a tour in VP-30, worked at Wing 11 in Jacksonville, Florida. He picked up senior chief during that time, and he retired out of U.S. Naval Forces Southern Command, U.S. 4th Fleet. He was there at CMC. Great stuff, man. Sea and shore tours, great stuff. He also completed 10 deployments. Is that correct? 10 or more?
13.
13 deployments during his 32 years of naval service. Outstanding. He also earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and after completing 32 years of naval service, he attended the Florida Highway Patrolman at 50 years old. A 50-year-old young man going through the course of a Florida Highway Patrolman. That's great stuff, man. He currently is a Highway Patrolman and is assigned to Putnam County, Florida. Irv, welcome, man. Thanks for coming to Addie's podcast and telling your story.
Well, thanks for having me.
No problem. My question to you, after graduating high school, why did you decide to join the Navy or military, and specifically the Navy?
Well, coming from a small town and not really having much coming up, we were pretty rich, but my mom was poor because she gave us everything, but I wanted more. I wanted something for myself. I wanted to be able to do something for my family and have a life. And so I joined the military, joined the Navy.
And why the Navy over any other branch?
Well, my
What is it so
initial
specific?
choice was the Marine Corps, but having flat feet, I was told by an E6 staff sergeant coming out, he's a recruiter, that I was going to have some problems. So I decided to go in the Navy, and then I could work with the Marines.
So, Herb, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate you. Appreciate the friendship over the years.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah. So you said you really wanted to go to Marines. So had you gone to the Marines? What field were you thinking of going in? Had you entered the Marines? I know you have a very high appetite for weapons. So
So I know the every Marine get trained in weaponry. So I know that was going to be the basic training in weaponry. But I wanted to go in aviation. I always had a knack for aviation.
okay. So you think living in Port St. Joe, so close to Tyndall Air Force Base, and getting to see or hear the jets flying over, did that influence your desire for education?
It had a great impact. I was very enthused by planes as a younger kid, and I used to have model planes, and so I was always into aviation. And then I got into aeronautical welding in high school from a retired senior chief, and he kind of just paved the way for me once I started talking with him about joining the Navy.
Info. Yeah. One day I'm gonna call you, and we're gonna talk about Major Fred Cherry. He's a Vietnam era pilot with the Air Force. He was a prisoner of war from Suffolk, Virginia. Very similar story as to why he went into aviation, being so to NAS Ocean. But we'll talk about Fred Cherry one of these days.
Yeah, for
So, Irv, during your impressive career, because I was a VP guy myself, then I did the amphib time and the carrier time, and I enjoyed the VP squadron, despite what people say, oh, it's not real CDB. You call it what you want to. But I was an air crewman when I first joined, so that's why I got into that P3 world like that. But I always think about, like, rates, like the rank that when we made rank, either third class, second class, chief, senior chief, master chief. Which which rate were you most excited to make? AM AMS3 or AMC?
AMC, most definitely. Because changing the uniform from, that the other services don't have that kind of ceremony that we have, from changing the uniform from the E6 to going to the E7 ranking. I think it was probably the most patriotic thing to do in the Navy, with the historic um, backing of Chief Petty Officer. So leaving the ranks of the blue shirt and jumping into a khaki uniform, I think that was the change. From one day to the next day, you saw the change, and it reflected across the board. So I think it was the E7 promotion.
I agree. It's now look, I enjoyed making third class. That was like a big thing. Like you just felt good, coming in making third class. But making chief was like a great thing, a great feeling.
Yeah.
Just to when you was a young sailor and you get to see your chief walking around with the khakis on and things of that nature. So it was just like, wow, I'm gonna get there one day.
Yes.
I'm gonna get there. So yeah, I definitely, most definitely understand that. During your naval career, is it or was it anything that you regret not doing while you for 32
I
years?
actually don't have any regrets. I I,
Okay.
I often reflect on my career. Um, I can't think of anything that I would call a regret. There's always something that I would have did different. I'd have made a different decision. But the path that I was that I took and that I was delivered, I think it was deliberate by my faith, and so I followed my faith in the path that was bestowed upon me. If that makes sense to you.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Understood.
Yeah, so Irv, the Navy has changed. People say that. I'm a believer that you know, yeah, things change, but they often too stay the same. So knowing what you know about the Navy throughout your 32, 33 plus, and then what you see today, if Ervin Byrd was joining the United States Navy today, what would you say, or what advice would you give Ervin Byrd today, the young Ervin Byrd entering the Navy today?
I think I would have got an education first, and more than likely joined as an officer. I think the impact that you have starting out as a khaki leadership, you have more impact on people than you do trying to raise through the ranks from the lower enlisted. So just having that impact from the beginning, because you have some life experiences, I think that I would have been more impactful joining as an officer earlier.
Very well. I see you did a tour in recruiting. Uh, what do you feel you gained or lost during your time in recruiting?
I don't think I lost anything. I think I gained more um, appreciation for being in the military, because there were so many members that I met that were prior service, and they wish they had stayed, but something drew them away from the service. They lost their love for it, or something drew them away. So it's by far the main reason why I end up staying. Because every time I approach one of those older people that they were the points of contact for putting people into the Navy, they were regretting that they didn't stay. So I learned a lot from them in that aspect, and use it as a career. Stay and gain what you initially came to gain from it.
Okay, so what did you recruited right? Well, 95 to 98, or
It was only a year tour,
okay,
because my wife had a daughter out there that we wasn't in a military town.
right,
We're 3 hours away from the closest military base, and my youngest kid had sickle cell, so we had to relocate close to a military facility.
yeah, because it looked like I was out there from 98 to 2001, and that was a real crunch, and we were
It was.
a whole bunch of CSM 3.
Yeah.
EDs, and then they were taking even less prior service.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
1% of what we were putting in, and my district was a large district, could be uh, prior service, and you had to have a waiver from uh, CNRC.
Yeah. Yep. Now I was
You said
out
that
there in
was from what
'98. I
year?
came out there in '98
Yeah, I recruited from
and went to '99.
June
Yeah.
of '98 to June of 2001.
Yep. And that would have been my complete tour to 2001, but I left in '99.
Right. Yeah.
Scratching and
And
clawing
you saying
because
the requirements? And you said the requirements dropped down, like to bring people in, or they got stricter.
No. So the requirements were pretty strict at the time. They would not. They would only allow. I think it was 3 or maybe 5% of your goal to be uh
NAVET or OSVETs.
right. Somebody who had been in the service before.
Yes.
It was well, actually, that was less than that. That was like 1%. But
Yeah, it was very minor.
and
It
then
wasn't very,
and like GEDs and stuff. They weren't. We couldn't put a lot of GEDs in.
nope.
You had to have a high school diploma. And our goal, the goal for the Navy in 1998 was 55,000. And the reason I know this is everybody who was E5 through E8 who was rolling the shore duty in 1998, well, came in a wonder in 97. For the most part, unless they had extenuating circumstances, they were first looked at for recruiting because they wanted 5,000 recruiters on the streets. So I didn't choose recruiting. Recruiting chose me. And I chose you too, Earl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was tough.
It was
55,000,
definitely tough.
52,000 in 99, 49,000 in 2000. And I left in the middle of 2001, so I don't know what their goal was.
Yeah, it was definitely tough.
Yeah.
It's like you were recruiting 24/7. There
Yeah.
was no break.
36 1-month tours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang. Oh, that's
Yeah,
real.
real.
Hey, I never did recruiting.
Yeah, we
I
know.
never did it. Yeah, I never did it. All right, Irv. So you make Master Chief, and big deal, great deal. And you're in the squadron, and you become a maintenance Master Chief. That's like the dream job for any young squadron sailor. That's the dream job to have.
Absolutely.
Maintenance Master Chief, like you're that person that controlling this whole evolution. And then you say, okay, well, I got that, made that, but I'm gonna go CMC. What 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 made you go that route? And you could have been a maintenance Master Chief, that dream job. But now you saying, okay, hey, I want to shift gears and become a CMC. What was that about?
It was all about my mentors. They expected more of me, and they always told me expect what you expect. So they expected more of me, and I trusted them, and I just followed their lead. So and it was the best thing ever done. I wish I would have done it earlier, because to have a larger impact on personnel with a bigger quantity of personnel is the thing. If I can have a more impact on people, then why not? And that to me is like the main reason for giving back is to have that impact on changing lives, and you can't change them all, but just adjusting a person's life to get them to find themselves and continue to promote. So having that bigger impact, like on a larger amount of people, on a larger scale, you can't do it as a maintenance master chief, because the personnel that you have that charge over is a small percentage of that command, where the command master chief have that whole command, whether it be from the CO down, because they all seek your
Yeah.
they seek your your guidance and insight.
How hard was it to, like, you the CMC VP 45? How hard is it not to get into the maintenance business? Like when with you need to do this and you need to do that. Was that hands off, or did you kind of like get some
You
input when you
know,
needed?
when you're in VP, and you know well as I know, Ty, when you're in VP, you're very well known by all. So when the maintenance master chief roll in, heck, they spend more time in my office talking about what you think than I did going downstairs. So that's them what they think. So they sought out, you know, advice, if you will, on how to do the job because I had already done the job. Uh, so I said it was kind of hard because I wanted to be hands off, but they, each one of them kept me involved, which was kind of good still because then I also, got to get updates on what happened in the maintenance department, So
Right.
the maintenance department is essentially the bigger department in the squadron. So if you know what's going on in the maintenance department, you pretty much know what's going on in command. So it kind of helped us both. I'm sharing my experiences as a maintenance master chief, and then I'm gaining some things from the maintenance master chief with regard to personnel.
Very,
Yeah, that squadron is like that's my favorite squadron of all time. I've been in a squadron twice, and I was at E5, E6, E7, E8, and E9, and been there twice in that same
That
squadron.
is
Man, that
awesome.
that
Yeah,
squadron did it. It paid a lot of
it
dividends
sure
for me.
did.
A lot of
Same here.
dividends.
Same
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, JB.
so being a maintenance master chief and then transitioning to command master chief, I was a regular master chief and then transitioned to command master chief, made that walk, and then ended up, in the aviation squadron coming from the surface world. And I had heard horror stories about uh, the command master chief and the maintenance master chief. Now, I will tell you, I had two maintenance master chiefs in HSM 72. Zero. Well, I would say I had one issue, but it was nothing. I mean, the maintenance master chief essentially told me that if there was a tie on a sailor of the quarter, a sailor of the year board, then he was the tiebreaker. I politely told him, absolutely not. It's
But
man, man,
probably not in those words.
program. But so uh, that transition uh, from the what I don't damn forgot the that transition from the maintenance master chief and then being the command master chief. I know you guys probably saw things eye to eye because, like you say, you had walked that walk before. But was there ever a time when you had an issue where the maintenance master chief sort of walked behind your back to the COXO or any situation like that?
Not one time. Not one time. Like I said, I can name all my maintenance master chiefs. Even as I came up as a young sailor, I can remember my maintenance master chiefs. Now I have seen in my first squadron where I made chief, where that head bumping with the maintenance master chief and the CMC happened. That was in my first command as a chief, and it resonated across the whole command. The whole command knew that there was some animosity between the two, and we had problems. We had a whole lot of problems in that command. So when you see that as a young sailor, you tend to put that in your toolbox and prepare yourself for that day should it come for you. And and so we are, the start of a tour with a maintenance master, you've always had that initial sit down to say, hey, we run the command, we have to make sure we're on the same will and accord. And luckily for me, I never had that problem.
Very good. Very good. Good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we always grew up with thinking like the maintenance master chief just ran the squadron. Like that was just our mindset, coming up as young sailors. Like, 'cause we seen him majority of the time, and that's what did all the talking with that maintenance master chief. But once I made chief, I realized like, okay, now I see how it works. It's just he really runs the maintenance department, but the CMC runs the whole entire squadron. So yeah, and we actually had and when I was in VP 45 that first time, our maintenance match chief is Larry Campbell. He's well known down there in
Yep.
Jacksonville. Like that dude is like we call him the brain. That he's different. And our CMC at the time was a guy named Pregler, and he was a sub guy, a submariner. But them two got along like they were the best of friends, for decades. We they were just alike in so many ways, and it was great to see a maintenance match chief and CMC had that type of bond and relationship. So they made it easy,
They needed,
and everybody enjoyed working
yeah,
for
they
them.
needed each other.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because coming from the sub community, because P3s are different than any other aviation. They
Yeah.
different. So, but yeah, he needed them. So, and they needed each other, as you said. So, yeah, it was a great relationship. Great relationship. So, going from the CMC and the squadron, you go to the amphib. How was that? And you did a tour in the amphib, so you completely understand that mindset.
Yeah.
So, how was
Now
that?
I elected to do that because to me it was like a comfort zone. My initial ship, first ship in the Navy, was an amphib, and I went on to that amphib as a airman, and left that same amphib as a second class going up for first class. So I gained a lot of experience in the amphibious side of the Navy. And like I said before, I initially came in to work with the Marines since I wanted to go in the Marine Corps. So I had the best of both worlds. I was getting my aviation and I was working with Marines. So now I get to go to this ship, as a CMC and have my name on this ship as a CMC. It was one of the best things ever. Now I get to work with the Marine Corps Sergeant Major, and then there's three Sergeant Majors, on the ship at the same time when we deploy. So now it's four E9s on this ship that's basically running the ship with the back end of the rest of the E9s, which I had nine other E9s. So here we are, we're top heavy and we're rolling, to uh, to deploy and make things happen on an amphibious carrier that I'm the command master chief of. That's pretty amazing, and it's one of the best tours ever. And I know that you can relate, JB. You're doing the same thing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I would tell any master chief, man, that command master chief was the thing. And it wasn't about no clout. It wasn't about, I mean, man, just every day was a wonderful day.
Yeah,
Even though everybody expects you to either help or solve them with their problems, nobody came to just say hi. Rarely did anybody come with good news, but it was the most those three tours, the Nassau, the Ashland, and HSM 72, were absolutely the most rewarding years of my Navy career.
mine too. I concur.
Yeah.
And you would never understand it if you didn't do it. But if you did it, you can absolutely relate to each member that had the opportunity to do the same.
Right. Yeah. And it was glory. It was glory, man. I mean, just you had so many chiefs or senior chiefs who was rocking in the mess. You just, hey man, we need to do this. Hey, I need this done. Hey, I need that done. And don't tell them how to do it. Just
They already on it most of the time.
yeah, the ones you going to, I found that the guys I was going to most of the time was pretty much just like me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they had that
yeah,
mindset.
yeah,
And the young ladies I was going. I mean, the young ladies are killing it. Man.
yeah.
They have outpaced the guys
The male,
by
absolutely,
far.
by far.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and they coming along in full force, man. Like when I was on the Ford, we literally had like 10 or 12 female
yeah,
mass chiefs, you know, on a carrier. That's on the
Yeah, that's
carrier,
killing.
and they was consistently making them every year. So, and even I just read in this recently, the Gunners mates, they finally made a female mass chief. I mean, 2023. So I was like, wow, you know, all them in the Gunners rate. You know how deep that rate
Oh
go.
yeah,
All them years now they finally have a female mass chief, and they only make one a
right.
year. You know, so yeah. So and going back a little bit, when having that responsibility and that leadership as a CMC, a certain CMC, good friend of mine, He's a CMC of the ship. I just so happily make Senior Chief, doing my thing. And I'm trying to, turn over some command collateral duties. This man said, no, you're going to keep him and take another one as well. I'm not going to say no names. I'm not going to say no names. So when he talk about, well, I got to go to my people, yeah, I'm trying to, pass on some stuff to the next person. No, no, no. You're going to keep this, and you're going to still be doing this as well. What I supposed to say?
Uh,
Yes,
yes,
CMC.
simply.
Yeah,
Actually,
CMC.
you
Yeah.
should have said, CMC.
CMC. Yeah, good friend of mine. But, that's just
Well,
what people do.
well, we had
You know.
had some issues with that program, and he had gotten them straight, but I didn't want the program turned over. And
Right. Oh,
Black
that
Sam,
was you. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, Black Sam wasn't nothing to play
right.
with either. Yeah. He wasn't nothing to play with either. Real good guy. Real good guy. So we just made some match sheets. The Navy just made some new match sheets. How long do you think they should be a match chief before they decide to go for the CMC
A
program?
whole tour, minimum. They need to
Minimum.
show in their rate that they're, first they got to pay it forward. The Navy selected them the top of their rate, so it's time for them to pay it forward. They have to pay it forward within their rate, and then I give them a whole tour as that master chief before they can transition over to the next level.
This way, kind of get the feel and the understanding
Of
of
what
what
a
being a
master
match
chief
chief is
is, and
about.
then they can
What a match
and then
chief
they can
is.
get on that coattail of the CMC and kind of tread until they can understand the fundamentals of shifting from just their rate to the whole Navy. I think is just important because we forget the Navy essentials. When we're in our rate, all we want to do is push. Find example. Maintenance master, if you want to push fixing planes, what you forget about, you got to do PRT. You got a DAPA program to run. There's 30 other programs to run. You got to make sure that those programs are, ran. And so that person needs to understand that leaving that rate is not just about your rate anymore. It's about the whole Navy. So I think it's critically essential to make sure that they understand that before they transition.
Okay. Okay.
Concur. So I saw in your bio, Herb, that you was in a fighter squadron early on, but then I seen somehow, some way you got into a patrol squadron, and you besides those two ships, you seem not to leave that patrol squadron. So what enticed you, or what made those patrol squadrons so interesting or glory to you?
Simple, quality of life.
My,
Quality of life. There's no better quality of life than VP.
right,
It was the best kept secret ever, and once you get a feel of it, it's hard to leave it. Now, as you can see, also though, now I broke it up a few times in between there because sometimes that quality of life, you need a break from it. You got to get a touch of what the real Navy is, And I had to, I missed that. I missed going to the blue water and getting underway and hearing all the Navy lingo and being called shipmate. You don't get all that kind of stuff in the patrol squadron. So, a real sailor, I like to, call myself. I miss that real Navy life. But then I find my way back to VP because that quality of life is good.
bingo, there.
And the per diem.
And the per diem.
That's all a part of that quality. That's all a part of that
The quality of life.
quality.
So, Irv, you on your final tour, you kind of know, like, okay, I'm about to really call it quits. You knew that when you was at the Fourth Fleet. Did you
Absolutely.
feel it?
My wife and I, we often say, we use the Kenny Rogers, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. That theme come to mind when something started to change. The Navy starting to change, and I knew it was time. Um, Now, just being in a fleet position, being at Fourth Fleet, we often get to see the CNO and the MCPON. And when he found out that I was retiring, it came down him and the CNO, and wanted to know why I was retiring and we didn't talk about it before I decided to do it. And I hit him with that Kenny Rogers. And I said it's time to fold him. So it was just time, you know. And not to mention, I mean, 32 years. When do you say it's enough? I thought it was enough. I thought it was time to go. But I wasn't done serving, which is the reason why I decided to move on to another career.
So you've been out there what a year now, almost a year, right?
Just a little over a year. Actually, October is going to be 2 years when you calculate the academy as well.
Okay, yeah. And so you still out in Putnam County. How how is that? How is it similar to the military, and how is it similar to the Navy, and how is it different?
It's very similar in that, you know, the conversation that you have with, I call it customers. Um, the minute that I activate my lights, my mic and my cameras are rolling. I have 5 cameras in the car, and some of the people that you collaborate with, you'd be surprised how well you change their lives. You know, they're crying on the side of the road. I had one guy say, "Can I get out and shake your hand?" You know, a young black kid. I had another black kid tell me, because I told him I had a kid and that's the same age as him, and I told him he need to really slow down because you know you guys are replacing us in this world. You're young, you're 28 years old, and I'm twice your age. You need to slow it down because we need you around. And I say, besides, present yourself. You know, we started talking about hair, and I say, yeah, you know, I keep a short cut. I took my hat off and showed him I keep a short cut. He say, so you recommend me cutting my hair? I said, well, you know, to present yourself well, someone is going to look at you because you had, you know, dreads all over his head. Someone is going to look at you. They're going to pass judgment. But when you clean cut, there's no judgment to be passed. And this kid said that he was cutting his hair today, and he had a long dread. So just making that impact on people on the side of the road, and it's all races, young ladies, you know, riding, not presenting themselves. I said, young lady, what happened if you blow a tire and you're on the side of the road and you're not appropriate in your car? I said, now you're gonna be outside the car. So just having a change kind of attitude with people when you have a conversation with them.
Info.
So it's very similar with the military because you know some of these folks on the road where they're not done growing.
Right.
So we tend to help them with a life experience and help them grow.
Amen to that. Very
So at the
no, so
go
very
ahead, Joe.
good. Thank
Yeah. So after 32 years, what made you decide like you 50 years old, 32 years, did a full 32 years in the military, and say, okay, now I want to be a Florida Highway Patrolman?
Well,
What was that
it
decision?
was embedded in me for a very long time. I almost got out at my 8 year mark. Almost retired at the 20 year mark. I've always wanted to be a highway patrolman. Um, there are folks that tell me that frequently that hey, he's been talking about that since this year. So it was always in me. I always wanted to do it. So at the age of 50, I decided to just do it. And I prayed on it, and it worked out.
So how was the training? Like,
It was pretty tough. The
yeah.
toughest part I had you know, you guys can relate. We got kids they're lazy, you know, and it reflects on all of us if it's a lazy one in the class. And we had a ton of lazy ones, and we often went on a lot of runs and a lot of PT because of that. Luckily for me, I you know try to stay in shape. So, but it was like being in the Navy all over again because I'm the old guy in there trying to rally those young ones to hey get it together, you know. Take each one of those moments as a you know a stepping stone to completion because completion is coming, you know. And now they often call and say, man, I miss those days because the hard part is going to work. The easy part is getting the training, you know. But it was good. It was good. The hardest part was, you're still raising somebody else's kids because they just didn't have any life experiences.
Have you pulled over any service members yet?
A ton of them,
Oh, really? I thought you
and
was gonna
they
say
kind of expect. They show their military ID and expect to be let off. Yeah, I let them off with a ticket because they need to learn.
Yeah,
You let them off, they don't learn.
right.
Um, Now I don't always write them, the full ticket. I always give a break, but it comes with a little counseling too. And that's the part that I enjoy the most. And then at the very end, I say, "Hey, young shipmate or young soldier, I did 32 years in the military, and you're gonna have to tone it back and represent us well. And the way that you're driving today is not representing us, And then they shake my hand and say, "Thank you, Command Master Chief."
But that always get 'em. So, I mean, 32 years, man, is a long time. You mentioned earlier about you had to leave recruiting because of your daughter's medical situation. So, uh, you balance the Navy life and family life, and how do you continue to balance? Because being a trooper, I'm sure your family worry, and then you're running 12 hour, 10 or 12 hour shifts. So talk about the balance between serving and your family.
Well, that's simple as well. You got to have a good family foundation. My support cast, my wife, she holds it down. So without that it'd be difficult. But she's always known in her heart that being a Florida Highway Patrolman is what I want to do. So um, we have a lot of faith. Uh, I mentioned praying a couple of times. Come from a praying family, so having that faith, I just don't see any other way to give back than to do this job that I'm doing. And so the wife has got her full support, and having that support, it makes it easier to do.
Very well. Great answer.
so. There's no like Alabama or Georgia, nothing hanging up on that wall over there.
Absolutely not. Do I need
I'm
to
just asking.
rotate and show you the
Oh,
Nah.
please don't go.
rest?
Hear what I said?
What's that?
Don't
What'd you
rotate,
say?
and please don't go in that burn bathroom. That is ridiculous.
Ty, you haven't seen the bathroom yet.
Nah, nah, nah. I know you're a Gator
I
fan though, true and
saw
true to heart.
Gator
So
stuff
yeah,
on the
yeah.
overhead in the back.
Oh wow, wow. Before we let you go, what's the best advice that you can give someone when you pull them over? No matter what being pulled over for. What's the best advice you would
One of my
give?
favorite things is don't rush yourself to death.
Mm.
Because often, people don't understand or they don't know how fast they were going or what they did because everything that's happening in their vehicle, they're not paying attention what's happening outside their vehicle. So I always tell them don't rush yourself to your death because if you're not paying attention to what's happening outside your vehicle, you can end your life so fast and not even know it. So that's my number one saying to them: don't rush yourself to your death. Slow down. Life already come at you fast enough.
Mm.
Um, and a lot of them, it's the younger kids that, hey, you just graduated. I see you 18 years old. You just graduated. Say, where has that high school time gone? It's gone already. It's in the rearview mirror. I say, so don't rush yourself to your death. Slow down and let yourself think through what you're trying to do. So that's my number one thing that I tell them.
Yeah. This is crazy, man. You see that did y'all see the young lady in Georgia that ran over the side of the wrecker, the tow truck, and went
Yeah,
through
yeah,
the air like she was on Smoking the Bandit or something?
yep, yep,
She lived.
yep.
She lived. She lived to tell about that story. But
She had a seatbelt
Oh
on.
yeah,
wow,
that could have been very, very.
Yep. Very bad.
wow.
Yep. Yep. And I've seen my share of fatalities. So, you don't rush yourself to your death. Slow down. There's a speed limit for a reason. I always tell them to give them 7 to 9 miles over. But when you start getting into double digits,
Mm-hmm.
we're stopping. We always find something
Right.
else. It's not just speed, But the ideal is to slow them down because we don't want them to rush themselves to their death.
Very well.
Man, thanks for coming on and telling your story. I appreciate you taking on a tough job. Again, 32 years in the Navy. Then you turn around and take a tougher job. Because there's nothing easy about being out there as a policeman, or patrolman. It's scary. It's scary, And we all a tight knit group, This Nassau crew, we stay tight, we stay close together, and man, we just want to make sure you come home at night safe.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
At the end of the day.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having. I'm looking forward to our next trip.